Welcome to Frywall Fridays. Today we're making chicken tinga, a very flavorful Mexican stew that's great on tacos, but also great right out of a bowl. You can make it well in advance and it's easy to make for a crowd. Let's get started. Here we have our ingredients. Most of them are very straightforward. We have our vegetables, we have our chicken, we have some oregano, some bay leaf, cumin, canned tomatoes, fresh cheese for topping. The one secret ingredient that's a bit uncommon is the chipotle peppers in adobo sauce. Chipotle peppers are jalapenos that have been smoked and then they're placed in a tomato sauce and canned. They're smoky, they're rich, they're flavorful, and they are the key to this dish. And they're not very difficult to find. I'm going to start in by chopping our aromatics, beginning with the onions. We're just going to slice these thinly. Next, we'll chop our bell pepper. We'll have about half a bell pepper. And finally, we will chop our garlic cloves. Medium fine is fine for this. Next, I'm going to chop up my chipotles. We're going to use about 4 chipotles today. You can use more if you like it hot. If you're not crazy about or can't stand the heat, use a few less, but you need some. And a rough chop is okay here. We'll put that right into the bowl. And we also want a couple tablespoons of the adobo sauce. So, again, a little bit more if you like it really spicy, a little bit less otherwise. All right. And finally, we're going to blitz our tomatoes. We have fire roasted tomatoes today, but if you don't have these, you can use regular canned tomatoes as well. And that's perfect right there. We are ready to start cooking. I have a little bit of vegetable oil heating up in a heavy bottomed pot, and the first step is going to be to brown the chicken on both sides. We have about 8 pieces of thigh meat. It's going to be too crowded to do at one go, so we're going to split this into 2 batches. As usual, we know when they're ready to flip when they turn a golden brown and release easily from the pan. We're going to cook these just long enough to get nicely browned on both sides. I'm going to turn down the heat just a little bit and add the onions. I'm going to cook these for about 3 or 4 minutes until they begin to brown and soften. You may give them a turn every once in a while. That looks good. I'm now going to add the bell peppers and cook them for 3 or 4 minutes until they begin to soften as well. I'm going to add the garlic now and cook for about another minute. We're now ready for the spices and got a couple of teaspoons of cumin, a teaspoon of oregano, about a teaspoon of salt, and we'll give that a mix. And now we're ready for our wet ingredients. We have our tomato sauce and we have our chipotle in adobo sauce. give that a good mix as well. We're now ready to put all of the chicken back in. Any liquid that's rendered on the bottom of the plate, go ahead and pour that in as well. And we'll also add a couple of bay leaves. At this point, the Frywall has done its duty. We can get rid of that and just cover the pot. We're going to cook this on low to medium-low heat for about 30 minutes. We know it's done when the chicken begins to fall apart pretty easily. While the tinga is simmering away, we're going to start working on our toppings, starting with the cilantro and onion mix. So we're going to chop our onion very finely here, and for this part we're using a red onion, mostly for color. If you don't have red onion, go ahead and use white or yellow. And next we'll chop up some cilantro. This has already been washed and dried. And we'll mix that together with the onion. That's going to give a nice herbaceous but also a little bit of a spicy bite to the top of the tacos when we're ready to serve. Next we're going to grate some of the crumbly cheese. And this fresh Mexican cheese grates very easily. You can almost crumble it by hand, but we're going to go ahead and grate it. And finally, we're going to cut up some limes into wedges. It's nice to give the tacos a little squeeze of fresh juice at the very end. The tinga has been simmering for about 25 minutes and it's basically done. Now what we need to do is shred the chicken. Let's bring that here. Just going to take the pieces of chicken out piece by piece and just using 2 forks, just going to pull it apart like that. You'll see that once it's cooked for long enough, it falls into shreds very easily. I have all the chicken shredded. I'm going to add it back to the sauce. We'll cook it for another 5-10 minutes for all the flavors to meld together, and then we're ready to compose our tacos. All right, we're ready to put the tacos together. Wow, that smells amazing. If you get too close, you're going to cough from the heat of the peppers. So we have our tortillas here. We're going to do 3 tacos on this plate. It's a little bit of a challenge to keep the tacos together, but we'll do our best. Put a little bit of the tinga there. Oops. A little bit of the tinga. And do our next one. Right there. You don't want to overfill the tacos or they're going to really fall apart on you, and there's plenty of flavor in this sauce where you don't have to, overdo it. There we go. Let's get that last taco here. And then we're going to put on a little bit of the cilantro and onions. Do that by hand. And a little sprinkle of the cheese. And I'm just going to put the fresh lime on the plate like that so that you can squeeze it yourself. And I'm going to put a little bit more of the cilantro around the plate as a little garnishing. And that's it. Chicken tinga tacos. I think you'll love it. and it's a great prepare ahead meal when you have a party or a game to watch. Enjoy!